Welcome to Rock and Recovery. Big shout out to Pete versus Anxiety from my next guest, Jenn Robb. How's it going, Jenn?
Great, Jay. How are you?
I am doing well. So why don't you tell us that your story and what you need anything you want to talk about, and floor is on you.
Yeah, so I wrote a book not too long ago. It was published in May called Warrior Mom Rising. That book was born out of the struggle and what we went through with our daughter and her mental health journey, right? I mean, hers started when she was about 12 with anxiety, depression, and ultimately self-harm. And the book is just written kind of from my perspective as her mom about how she struggled through that and then how she ultimately overcame that, but how we had to overcome it together.
So basically it's like a third point of view, a third person's point of view, and how was that going through that with your daughter? Because that's got to be rough.
Yeah, so she struggled a lot. I mean, as a mom, like when you're watching your kid go through a struggle like that, to where they ultimately want to take their life, it's gut wrenching, right? And so we did everything in our power to help her overcome. But I think the bigger message that came out of that is, that I had to transform through it too, but also letting people know that you have to advocate for yourself, but you also have to advocate for, like in my case, it was advocating for her, right? Like, especially when you're dealing with teens, their brains are so not developed, right? And there's hormones and so many other body things that there's changing for them. And so as their parents, we really have to kind of speak up and speak out for them in those counselors' office, in those therapies office, in the doctor's offices, to kind of get them the help that they really need.
And being gaslit by medical professionals probably didn't help at all. So what does being a warrior mom to you mean throughout all this, and why'd you write the book?
The book was really written out of, one, it was cathartic for me to write it, right? But the other part of it is I have been in medicine for 25 years. So I've been a medical provider, I'm a nurse practitioner. I still practice, right? And I know the areas of weakness within modern medicine, right? And I watched it with my own child. And so for me, pushing back against physicians and counselors and therapists, like that's just kind of second nature, right? Like, I've been in it for so long. So navigating those areas,
the technical terms and all
right,
the jargon. Yeah.
Right. But what I found is that most parents don't really know that it's okay for you to push back against them, right? So like, for instance, with mine, it was her pediatrician recommended that I take her to a psychiatrist. So we take her, but their first response is, well, let's put her on 5 different medications. I'm not certain that that's the best thing for her, right? Because I need to get to the root cause. And I certainly think that there's a place for modern medicine,
Absolutely.
Right? And medication can be helpful if you want to look at it as a short term to deal with the symptoms. But I wasn't trying to make her numb, right? Where she just was like a zombie moving through life, never dealing with the root cause. And I think that that's the bigger point, right? Is as parents and even if it's your spouse or someone that that's struggling, it's not your teen necessarily, but having them really focus on how to deal with the root cause so that they can get much better, well-rounded healing, so that sets them up for their continued journey, right? Especially as Chloe, as a teen, right? She's got a lot of life ahead of her. And if we were going to make her into a productive, happy adult, we have to deal with the root cause of what was causing the anxiety and the depression and those feelings of wanting to take her own life.
Right. And how did that journey go? Was that hard to sit there and advocate for your daughter like that and really not know the struggles that she's going through other than being able to see it physically? How hard was that? And I know that probably played a big part in why you're doing what you're doing.
Right. I mean, it's gut wrenching, right? I mean, as a mom, your whole life is to protect your children, and you don't want them to hurt. You don't want them to have pain. But reality is that's not life. I mean, life is
Yeah.
always been a life, no matter how old we are. And so for her, it was really gut wrenching to watch her struggle. And she hadn't really told us what the major issue was. We later learned after she, and I say accidentally, almost took her life, is my two boys found her unresponsive, and
Mm.
they found her laying face down in a pool of vomit in a pillow. And of
Wow.
course, they called 911. We get her to the ER, and we find out that her alcohol level was 4 times the lethal limit, right? So she had broken into a
Wow.
liquor cabinet, broken 2 locks to get into it because was so determined that day to stop the noise and how she was feeling in her head. And so that was kind of like the pivotal moment, right? That's like April 4th of 23. And that's when you go, okay, this is way bigger and way deeper than just normal teen anxiety, right? And what we had found out ultimately after she finally decided to tell us is that she had been sexually assaulted by another peer.
Mm.
And so our kids, I mean, they're dealing with a lot already. But then when you add something like that, right, they really don't know how to deal with what is happening in their heads and into their bodies. And that's what she just wanted the noise to stop. And so
Yeah.
I think as parents, we have to be a little more present when it comes to our children, right? Like in paying attention to those subtle signs, um, so that we don't miss the bigger thing. And, when you're navigating doctor's offices and all of that stuff, it's okay to say, I don't know that you're the best fit for her or for him, right? Like, that's okay. It's not that you have to go in there, guns a-blazing,
Right.
not, but it's okay to say, I don't want her on 5 different medications.
Right.
I want something that can help her deal with the anxiety in the short term, but we're going to deal with the root cause of what is causing her to feel this way, right? And ultimately, that's what we did. We changed therapists for her. We changed 3 times. And we found a therapist that was really specialized in cognitive behavior therapy. It's called EMDR.
EMDR, CBT.
Yeah. Amazing things with EMDR.
Yes.
Because you're essentially kind of trying to rewire the brain, right? And how the
Mm-hmm.
brain has processed that original trauma. And of course, our bodies want to protect us, right? So that's their design. And so they kind of stuff those traumas or whatever happens, and they
They
stuff it
block them off. Yeah.
right into a point where you don't really deal with the trauma.
Yep.
And the goal of EMDR is to bring all of that back to the surface, but then to teach your body and your brain a healthier coping mechanism so that you're not as easily triggered, right? Like
Yes.
triggered by a smell, a sight, a thought,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And that was ultimately a game changer for her. It wasn't about just putting a pill on it, and taking a pill and trying to mask it. It was getting to the root cause, and for her having to do the really hard work of dealing with that struggle and that pain that she had buried.
Was it hard to deal with the doctors or the other uh, medical fields pushback as you're going through this? Oh no, we know the best thing for your daughter. Let's do it this way. How did you deal with that on a daily? Seeing how you're already in the field, so you already knew. But how did you deal with that being somebody that you were so close to?
Well, and I think, as a mom and it's your own kid, you kind of lose a little bit of like your provider role a little bit,
So you
right?
become
It's
a
like,
mom again?
right, because you kind of now are just solely a mom.
Yeah.
But it's really important that we say, I know my child better than you, right? Like I knew that Chloe, I knew her subtle signs. I knew when she was about to have a panic attack. I could see her facial expressions, her hand movements, her body gestures, all of those things. And when you walk into a provider's office for the first time, right, they are deemed as the expert. But they don't know your child or your
Yeah.
spouse the way that you do. And
Yeah,
so,
you know the small things, the real easy tells that nobody else was gonna know unless you're yeah,
but you also know, like, they're not going to want to be on 5 different medications, right? I
yeah.
mean, there's healing. And, we changed psychiatrists twice. I mean, I was like, if that's all you're going to push and you're not going to offer any other real help besides just take this pill, then you're not the one for us. And that's okay, right? I mean, that's part of being an advocate. You're not being rude,
No, you're fighting for your daughter.
right? But frankly, I don't care what anybody else thought, right? Like, I don't care if I hurt your feelings, just like as a provider, I'm not trying to be your friend. I need you to help my child, and that is my focus, is helping my
Mhm.
child, right? And I mean, it's the same thing for me. I mean, I've been in medicine for so long, and I mean, most of my background is ER trauma and surgery, right? And I've had many cases where people question, our modalities or whatever we're doing in the ICU in the critical care world, right? Because they don't understand it. And if I think sometimes there's a misconception, because in modern medicine and in the American culture, we're taught that providers are a figure of authority and we should
They're
respect
not.
authority,
They've
right?
just got a different set of knowledge. They're not an authority.
Well, but it depends on, right? Like, they are the expert in that field.
Right. Correct.
But so often, and what I found was not just like with her in this struggle, but I also found it like with one of my sons who, as a toddler, struggled with major digestive issues,
Mm,
right? And what you find is that most providers, they only know how to practice within a box, right? And so if you bring them, a circle and it doesn't fit in the box, they don't know what to do, right?
exactly.
And so you're challenging that way of thinking, right? Because your kid is not always going to be the square peg that fits in this square box.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think that that's the problem in modern medicine, is that we have to be a little more open, right? To that there's other alternatives and other treatments and other modalities that can help people holistically, right? Mind, body, and spirit, instead of just shoving medication down their throat that may or may not have adverse reactions. I mean,
Right.
one of the medications that they put Chloe on, she was hallucinating.
Mm.
Like, I mean, it was out of this world crazy what she was seeing. And of course, that when you start those medications, a lot of times you can't just be like, oh, well, let's just
You
stop it.
can't just stop them because now the withdrawal, you're going to be going through the withdrawal,
Right.
and that's even worse sometimes.
Right. And so it's really trying to find that balance, right? As your role as the parent. I mean, you are the expert for your child. I mean, the providers, they don't know. And you just have to be willing to say, I'm willing to try this, but I'm not willing to do this.
Mm.
And for me, that was, we can try her on one medication, but we're not putting her on 5 at one given time. Because
Right.
then you don't know if there is some reaction. You have no idea what they're having a reaction to.
You don't know which one's working either.
Right.
It's like you're given a handful of Skittles, say, take them all, you'll fix you. You
Right.
know, which ones? You can narrow it down.
Right.
Now, then you got some that are dealing with the side effects of the others, and it's like it gets lost.
Well, or the medications are interacting with each other, and now we've got bigger problems on our hands, right? Because a lot of those medications they can actually increase suicidal ideations,
Hmm.
right? And so if you put this whole combination together, I mean, are you putting your child or your spouse at a higher risk for potential hurting themselves because they're on too many things and they don't really know,
Right.
right? And so advocating just becomes, and it became really the backbone of the book, right? Like, it's okay to push back.
Mm.
It's okay to fight for your child. Now, of course, I'd want, I mean, do it in a respectful manner, right? Like,
Right. Don't
again, you're
no
not
yelling and screaming.
right, guns ablazing, but
Right.
you are being the expert on your child, and it's okay to say, I don't agree with you, and that's not really the route that we're going to take.
Did you have to educate yourself more to be a better advocate, going into this whole process? Did you have to research the drugs that they're putting your daughter on, doing all this other stuff to become a better advocate, or did you just go in there? I don't think that's right.
I mean, I knew most of the drugs that they wanted to put them on because I've been in it for
Right.
so long, but they're different when you're talking about a child who is 12 or 13 years old, right? Most of the medications that are
For
out there
adults.
for adults,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, so you have to go back and really read. And then if you really start reading about a lot of these things, I mean, there's all of these black box warnings on there about giving them to children.
Yeah, most of them say have not been tested on children. We don't recommend, but it's a shady gray area. It's a
Right.
big shady gray area.
Well, but again, I mean, no normal person is going to subject their child. I mean, that's why a lot of those medicines aren't tested
Yeah,
in pregnancy,
yeah,
right? Because you don't have any idea what it could potentially do to
true.
the unborn child. So it was more about like, okay, well, now I got to go because my background is all in adults, right? So it's really about like looking, okay, what is the potential side effect for a teen, and what do you do if there is a side effect? So it was really about kind of educating like on mental health as a whole, right? I mean, we've all learned about anxiety and depression and things like that. But what you don't and what you kind of forget is like picking up on those subtle signs, right? And I think that that's even more important for parents, right? Because our teens are teens. They're going to be
Hmm.
angry sometimes, they're moody, they want to sleep a lot. There's a lot of things that teens normally do, but when they're struggling with anxiety, those things are heightened, right? The
Right.
isolation, the sleeping too much, they're always exhausted, they eat poorly, they're not, lack of sleep is, a major factor.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things that are happening that if you're really not paying attention, you'll just dismiss for it's just normal teen behavior.
Right.
So part of the advocating is not just with providers, it's also advocating and a little bit of educating yourself on what those signs are, right? And knowing when you need to step in and when you need to seek help for the child.
How's going through the things that you did with your daughter helped you also? Because I know it had to be trying and really hard to watch her do that, thinking that of course, what does moms and dads think is that it was because of us. I did it. I how did you react to that, and how did you get through that?
I mean, that's tough, right? Like,
Hmm.
I mean, it's a gut punch. And as a parent, I mean, your job is to protect your child. And so when they're really hurting, you go through all of the stages of grief,
Mm.
anger, sadness, you're questioning the guilt, the shame that you feel. And all of those feelings, they're valid, right? But the deal is you can't stay stuck there. You are no good to anybody if you're going to stay stuck and wallow in your own woe, right?
I agree.
You cannot help your child if you want to play the victim too. And I think that that's more important because I mean, there were many nights that I cried on the floor,
Hmm.
look, not knowing how did I miss it? How did, and you grapple with this feeling of just almost like self-loathing, right? Like you 100% caused this,
Helplessness. Yeah.
right? But at the end of the day, you didn't cause this,
Right.
right? And like once we really found out what had happened, we knew we weren't the cause, but it still
Yeah.
didn't help because my child was hurting and then someone else had hurt my child,
Yeah.
right? So it's okay to feel those feelings. but you cannot stay stuck in those feelings to be effective for your child,
Yep,
because your child
absolutely.
needs you to show up the best version of you, right? So some of the advocating becomes advocating for yourself and taking care of yourself, taking 10 minutes a day to regroup, to find whatever it is that refreshes your soul so that you don't stay stuck in a negative headspace when your child is also there too.
Absolutely. And how did that healing process? I know you said that the writing the book was probably healing, and it helped you through a lot. And what's the whole goal about the book? What's the main topics that are in the book that people are going to take away from it, other than the whole thing? What are some of the main ones that you want people to take away from the book?
The biggest thing is, and for us, our faith is a big part of our healing, and feeling that comfort and that peace, right, from God. Like, that's a huge part of who we are. But the bigger thing is like, I tell you the story so that you understand that you're not alone, right? So that there is someone out there that knows and empathizes and can sympathize with the way that you feel, right? Because I think
Right.
that's important. Is I don't want moms or parents that are struggling with their kids to feel alone, because it is a very isolating feeling, right? And I mean, we didn't talk about our struggles with a lot of people because we didn't want the judgment, right? Like, because
From other parents, from
right,
family, everybody else.
right,
Yep.
because mental health already has a judgment, right?
Yep.
And a lot of people want to say, "Oh, well, you can just pray it out of her, or
No, you can't.
you can just give her a medication and she'll be better." Well, no, it doesn't work that way,
Yeah.
right? And I get that there are people that use mental health sometimes as a cop out because they want sympathy.
Right.
But when those that are really struggling with mental health, and it's not a cop out, it's not an overnight fix. And people need to understand that, right? Mental health is real and it's on the rise among young people and young adults.
Hmm.
And a lot of it, I really think, has to come with to this society where we've isolated away from human connection, right? Because it's all about social media. And then we scroll and we get into this comparison game, right? With
Hmm.
the Joneses over there who look like they're living their best life, and they must not be having any struggles with their kids. Cause I mean,
Right. We tend to compare our lowlights to everybody else's highlights.
right. And that's just not reality, right? But the
No.
other part of that is that, especially as a parent, right? When my kids were little, I often could say, if they fell down, I could pick them up, I could kiss their knee, and I could put a band-aid over it, and off they went, right? And mama magically fixed it and they were all better. But when you have someone that is really struggling with mental health, it is not that easy. You cannot kiss it and put a band-aid on it and help it go away. It is a day in and a day out struggle, and fighting for them to get the right therapist, to find the right doctors, to find all of the right treatment modalities for that individual person, right? And so, because we live in an Amazon society, we often think that, oh, well, they'll just take a pill and they'll be better.
Right.
But that is not it at all. And so, part of the book is telling you the journey, and that it's not always easy, but there is hope in the end, right? And you can overcome, right? You as a mom or a parent can transform through the journey as well, but so can your child, right? Because now I look back and, all the pure hell that we went through for 3 or 4 years with her, now she's a thriving 17-year-old, right? And I know that in the moment, it feels very lonely and like no one sees you or hears you. And that's the bigger premise of the book, right? Is that you are seen and you are heard and you're not alone. There is people out there and community of people who want to help you, right? And help you navigate that journey when you feel so stuck and isolated.
Yeah. and talk about that. Did you have support groups while you're going through it, or did you have any yet? I know you said you're religious or Christian, basically. Did you go to turn to the church a lot?
Mm-mm.
No, just you kept. Or did
Just
you feel
really,
isolated yourself?
we just really did that within our family, right? We didn't really talk
Okay,
about, and again, I think that there's a lot of judgment that
there
sometimes,
is a big stigma.
right? It's
You
a
know,
stigma that comes from, from churches.
yeah,
And again, it's sometimes where you can just pray it out of them. Okay. I do believe in the power of prayer, but I also know that there's a lot more going on
yeah.
at play here, right? Than just it being prayed out of them. And
You know,
what I want is for people to understand that mental health is real. It's a real struggle for those that are going through it. It's a real struggle for those that are the supporting roles, but it's also a real struggle and it's on the rise. And we have to
absolutely.
be able to talk about it and talk about it openly without the stigma and the judgment.
With just a free space of people,
Right,
just blowing off steam, basically.
right.
Because that's what it really comes down to. There needs to be more open dialogue. We're in a safe space, without the stigma of judgment or the stigma of having a stigma. With that, oh, you've got lots of letters behind your name, and none of them are PhD. It's all acronyms for something else.
Well,
But that's okay.
but it's also the feeling of that they're crazy, right? If they're
Yeah,
struggling with anxiety or depression, they're not
right.
crazy. I mean, I'm now board certified in functional medicine. So, which I love better, right? Because you're looking at whole body person healing, right?
Hmm.
Mind, body, and spirit. There's a lot of reasons for anxiety. It can be trauma related, but it can be gut health and diet related. It can be so many things. And that's where kind of modern medicine gets trapped, right? Because
I
it's
agree.
all about let's just take a pill and the pill
I
becomes
agree.
the savior. But that's really not how we were designed,
Right.
right? And so people have to be willing to not just say take a pill or pray it out of them. You have to
Right.
be willing to talk about it because in some cases like hers there was a lot of trauma there, right? And people that have never experienced that level of trauma, they don't understand it, right? They don't understand the feelings because so many people are just, oh, we'll just get over it.
Hmm.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, but that's not
Yeah.
really, you can't tell people
That's
just
not realistic. It's just like telling a drug addict, yeah, just quit.
correct.
Just quit. Oh, anybody can do it. Just quit. Why don't you don't like being an addict? Just quit.
Right.
Just quit. Be not crazy.
Right.
Quit acting crazy. It doesn't
But
work that way.
it doesn't. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to change, right? I mean, for her, she struggled with her own self-worth. She struggled with her own value as a person. But you see that in so many other addictions, right? If you're talking about
Right.
drug addictions or whatever else you want to come up with, right? It's
Hmm.
typically because that person doesn't feel valued, right? They have a very low self-esteem and a low self-worth. Something or someone made them feel that way.
Absolutely.
It does not make them wrong or crazy. Now, I'm 100% an advocate, and this is the same thing that we used to tell her. That's fine that you feel that way. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be here. I'm going to love you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to do whatever it is that you need from me. But here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to stay stuck and we're not
Right.
going to stay in the victim mentality.
Right.
We're going to choose to rise and figure out how do we move past this in a healthy way.
I think it's going from that reactive state to that proactive state because a lot of the times we, as a parent, as an individual, we react to certain situations beyond our control instead of proacting for them, being proactive towards them, especially once you have a diagnosis. And even if you don't, being more proactive towards the goal instead of just reacting to what an expert in the field will say, I think that benefits everybody across the board. I would think so.
Mhm.
I'm no expert in anything except for not being organized. I am an expert at that.
We all have our strengths, Jay. We all have our strengths.
Yes. Well, thank
But I
you for
mean,
that.
but the point of that is too, is like, even as a parent, right? Like, how you show up when your kid is struggling
Yes.
also in turn is how they show up when
For
they're really
themselves.
hurting, right? So
Yeah.
if you show up in a reactive way, if they say, "Hey, I need to tell you something,"
Mm.
and you overreact and just again go guns a-blazing, are they going to come to you?
Dads.
Right? Are they going to come to you again?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it, when you see signs in your kids, right, of anxiety, of isolation, of depression, of all of these things, sometimes it's better for you as a parent to step back and go, okay, I know something's wrong. I mean, like, mom intuition is real.
Oh, yeah.
How am I going to approach this? Am I going to be 100% reactive, or am I going to try to approach it without a reaction so that they know that they can come to me and that they can trust me with this? And that is not always easy to do either,
Right.
right? But what you do when you come to them in a non-reactive way, in a non-freak out session, is you open the lines of communication and trust. And communication is already hard enough with our teens, right? Because,
Yeah.
I mean, what do they turn to? They turn to their phones, they turn to social media, they turn
Hmm.
to a friend who may be leading them down a dark path. And that's not what you want.
Right.
Want them to come to you and say, "Mom or Dad, this is what I'm struggling with, or this is what happened. What do I do?"
And being able to sit there and listen without doing anything, that's a superpower in itself.
Right.
Especially for any parent out there, being able to just sit there and listen with no judgment and
Right.
then not react to what they're saying speaks a whole lot about the character of your relationship with your
Right.
daughter or with your kids at all. you know
And as a parent, you should want an open dialogue with your children. Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, our children are not always going to do things perfectly or the way that we would do them. That's just not reality. We didn't do that. And things were a hell of a lot easier when I grew up, right? Than when they're growing up now.
Absolutely.
And I think
Absolutely.
we always forget that, oh, well, when I didn't have that when I was a kid. Well,
But we
great.
also got to remember they don't have to go through all the shit that we did too, yet we did it the wrong way just as much as they do.
Right.
Let's be real. We're all
And
kids. We were all kids at one time.
and we all don't have the cognitive brain development,
Right.
the checks and balances that we have when we get to an adulthood, right?
Right.
And so,
Some of us don't even have them then, let's be honest.
well, that's true. But like when you're like, I have a 20-year-old and a 19-year-old also. So parenting a young adult is
Mm,
far, far harder than parenting a toddler, right? Because a toddler is in your control.
yeah.
Don't touch that. Don't look at,
Right.
don't watch that. You can't talk, whatever it may be. You're
Oh,
gonna
to the playpen you go.
right. You're gonna eat this for dinner, or you're not
Right.
gonna have, okay.
Absolutely.
When they're young adults and in teenagers, they're gaining some independence. And they have to sometimes make decisions on their own, whether it's right or wrong, whether it's what you would or wouldn't do. That's how they learn. And so, like, even for Chloe, it was really about, this happened to you. We're not going to stay stuck in this. We are going to use it for good and for a new purpose. But we're also going to look at the lessons that we can learn, right? Because so much of what we do, it's always learning. Even as an adult, you're always learning. And it's about learning and growing and then transforming through those really hard times that really make you into a person that has a purpose and has a goal and has can be a light to someone else. And for me, that's really what it was more about, right? Is not staying stuck.
Right.
And as a parent, sometimes it's really hard.
Right.
It's really hard.
And this book that you wrote, I'm sure it helps a lot of people. And I'm sure your experiences have just going through it. But did you ever get to the point where like, this isn't right, or I don't feel like, did you ever come to, a stage where maybe I shouldn't do this in your book?
About writing the book, you mean?
Yeah. Just about the topics, the subject matter.
I don't know that I was ever like in a place of I shouldn't do this, right? Like
Or
for me, it was more of how is this going to be approached, right? And like what I've seen is a lot of people that read my book, they're like, well, we had no idea that you were struggling or that your
yeah.
daughter was going through that, right? And no, you didn't. And that was because we didn't need more noise. We didn't need more judgment. We didn't need more, well, how did you miss it type feelings, right? We already had
Right.
dealt with our own shame and guilt and everything else. And I also didn't want a lot of other outside influences in her ear.
I gotcha.
Do you know what I
That
mean?
makes
Like
sense. I do.
sometimes and we pulled her out of public school.
Yeah, I mean, even in family or friend groups, if that was
Correct.
known, well, maybe you should try this. Maybe you should do this. Maybe you should. Maybe you should. Maybe you should. Maybe you should. Let me figure that out.
Right. And
Yeah.
Kids, again, they're so formative in learning and their training. And I mean, their brains are so much in development. And we just didn't want a lot of external noises for her because
Right.
we wanted to lead her down the best path that was going to help her, right? Which meant trial and error, finding the right counselors and the right therapists, trial and error with the right physicians. And we didn't need like, oh, well, it happened to me and I did this and it, you know what I mean? Like, because what works for you doesn't work for everybody else.
Right. That's right.
And we just needed, and it worked out, right? So like, I think that's probably the biggest thing that came, from the book is people going, well, we had no idea. Well, okay.
Well, that's because we didn't tell you.
Right. And it's okay. And it's okay you didn't know.
Absolutely.
But what you should be worried about now is that she overcame it and she's thriving, right? That's what you should be worried about.
Yes.
Don't be worried about what you did or didn't know.
How has this book been received by, I mean, it is out. So how's it been received? Any good review? What type of reviews and has that feedback maybe spurred you for maybe a different type of book?
I mean, the feedback on the book has been amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
I have gotten, just like last week, I got 2 random text messages from other moms that had read my book that it spoke to them because that's exactly where they are with their child, right? And everybody, the common thread is that the book gives me hope, right? And that I don't feel alone. And I think that that's really the main message of the book, right? Is that you're not alone. And people may look like they have the most perfect lives on social media, but you don't know what's really happening behind closed doors.
Those are normally the ones that are struggling anyway.
Right. And so even writing the book, right? Like if it helps one person,
that's all that matters.
Then the book did its job. I mean, that is really kind of where my heart is. I mean, of course,
absolutely.
I want the book to be, successful and all of these things, but I also know that the people that have read it and the Amazon reviews that I'm getting back is that the book is a shining light for them. It is helpful and hopeful in those really dark moments when they, as a parent, feel alone.
So you feel, I have a comment over here that said, you said it out loud, what other parents may be feeling. And I think that's so true. It is because like you yourself, you didn't want to let other people know what you're struggling with because it wasn't their struggle, first of all, and you didn't want that outside interference coming back into your daughter's life. And I think that's being able to differentiate between the good and the bad in that situation is 100% amazing because sometimes we'll just take all this information and, use it all. Maybe it's not the best of information. Maybe it's not the worst, but we tend to like mix it and match. Oh, I heard, let me try this with this.
Right.
And so being able to be that private person and, not announce it to the fucking world,
Right.
I think that did wonders. But it also, your book did also say, hey, it's possible you can do this.
Right.
We've done this,
Right.
just educate yourself.
Right. But also in the book, right? Like I think it's important for parents, and I even talk about this, is setting boundaries for their kids, right? Especially in today's world. Chloe, in the midst of it, she was not happy with us, right? Like in the beginning. I mean, we pulled her from public school her freshman year because there was way too much noise, right? And really not good influences that she was surrounding herself. Because let's be realistic here. When your child is in a low place, who are they going to be drawn to?
The lower.
Correct. They're not going to be drawn to the people that want to lift them up and make them better. They want to be down with somebody else who's in the
same.
Correct.
Yeah.
And sometimes as parents, what we have to do is make those hard decisions, which we pulled her from school. I took her phone. I changed the phone number. I cleared out all of the contacts out of it. Because the people that she was associating with, and if
we're keeping her down.
Right. And if you really look at their phones, right? Like they use those phones like we used to write in notebooks. Right? And you can see some really dark things on there.
Absolutely.
And we took it away. I mean, I don't think she had her phone for a good 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, after she had, broken in the liquor cabinet and all that stuff, we took it away. Because you need your mind to not be on what is the negative influences that you're hearing from other people. And as a parent, sometimes you have to make those hard decisions. And it's not always fun because you look like the bad guy, right? And nobody wants to be.
You even feel like the bad guy at times.
But nobody I didn't want my kid to be mad at me.
No.
I mean, she and I are like best friends now. I didn't want her to be mad at me, but I also knew, because I'm the adult and I'm infinitely more wise than she is, what I was trying to do. And after her 16th birthday, she looked at me and I dead in the eye and she said, "Thank you, Mom, for making the hard decision to take me out of the school." And even though I was mad and I was kicking and screaming. So setting boundaries isn't bad. I mean, our kids need boundaries. Our kids need rules that we know are there to protect them. And I think oftentimes in today's society, as parents, we feel like we don't have to set boundaries or rules because that just makes us mean.
Right. I mean, look at all the wild shit going on right now in this world. And you know what? Maybe if these people that are doing it had boundaries,
right,
it wouldn't have been so bad. That's all I'm going to say on that topic.
Right.
And boundaries in recovery, boundaries in addiction and recovery are big because they keep not only me safe or the person in addiction or in recovery safe, they keep everybody else safe too,
But think about recovery, right? Like if you're an alcoholic, you go to AA. They set boundaries, do they not?
Oh, absolutely. Big time.
So why do we have this thought process as parents that we are being mean when we set boundaries on our kids?
Because, that's a good topic. I could go all day on that topic. It's because, you know what? Once we start setting boundaries, unless they've already been in place, once we start setting boundaries, we can't get over on Mom. We can't get over on Dad. We can't get over on Jay or Jen because they've got boundaries right now. And that turns us into the bad person because we're not letting them get away with what they want.
Right. But boundaries are important even for adults, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
Boundaries from toxic relationships.
100%.
Is drawing a line and saying, you know what?
You're not going to treat me this way.
Right. You're not going to treat me that way because I'm worth more
than
the way that you're treating me. And for a kid, They don't know any boundaries. They don't
No.
know anything except for what we teach them. And as a parent, you're saying, you're not going to talk to my kid that way because she or he is worth more than
Hmm.
what you're treating them like, right? So
Yep.
you have to become the advocate for boundaries. Advocating, I mean, like, I even talk about in the book, giving your kids, like, let's cook dinner together once a week, because now you're setting something up.
Including them.
Right, you're including them, you're bringing into the dialogue, you're laughing with
Hmm.
them. They're not seeing you just be the parent, right? They're seeing
Absolutely.
you in a setting where there's joy
And you're making them feel valued
and important.
and important.
And
You're
so, like,
making them feel wanted.
right, and I talk to moms about that all the time. Is sometimes
Yeah.
you just have to put the phone down, you have to put the vacuum down, and let me tell you, I'm OCD to the nth degree. Like, I love
That
to
sounds like my
vacuum,
mom. Oh.
I'll vacuum 3 times a day.
Hmm.
Our kids, what they need is they need us to be present.
Right.
They don't care that there's dishes left in the sink. They don't care
Mm.
that the house isn't vacuumed.
Why are you talking about me right now? Shit.
But what they do care about is, did mom see me?
Right.
Did dad hear me when
Yep.
I was talking? Or was it playing on their phone? My daughter often says, Mom, you left me unheard, right? Like, if we're doing something and I'm working, and she's like talking and she can tell, she says, you left me unheard. And I'm like, honestly, I didn't even hear you because I'm busy, right? So, like, what we have to be is present, because
Very.
that's what our kids need. They need to know that we see you, we hear you, we love you, we value you enough to put all of the ancillary noise down.
Yep. Absolutely. Jen, if there's anything out there that you could, if there was one takeaway from your book, just that one person needing to hear this, what would you tell them?
Choose not to stay stuck. Choose to rise. Choose to be better. Choose to grow and transform and learn from the process. Instead of saying all the time, why is this happening to me? Ask, why is this happening for me? What lessons can I learn from this to become a better person?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming up here. And I thank you for bringing all this wisdom to everybody. I think it's really something that needs to be shared more often, is to be our best advocate for not only ourselves, but those people that we love, especially our kids. Be an advocate, fight for them just like you'd fight for yourself. I appreciate your time and everything that you've done. And if you want to hit your book up again and where people can get it.
Yeah, so it's called Warrior Mom Rising. It's on Amazon, and it also just released on barnesandnoble.com. And then my website is warriormomcoach.net. And there's lots of free resources on there. You can join the VIP community. We have a free Facebook community that they can come into. And all of those links are on my website.
Well, I appreciate your time, Jen. I hope you have a good rest of the day and keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome. I think this is just another way we recover, from life, and so I really do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. I appreciate it.
You have a nice day.
You too. Bye.
And on that, we got to keep rocking our recovery, however you may do it.